the household's median net worth climbed 37% between 2019 and 2022. And it's a combination of rising home prices, rising stock market, which has outpaced inflation, which is why everyone's still out spending. So if anyone asks, like, is the economy soft? This is why the economy's not soft. If the average household has 37% more income in 3 years.
Some of it got taken away.
Some, but it's above inflation.
Yeah.
No matter how you cut it, if your net worth as a family or a household increased that much, that's why there's a labor shortage on like hourly jobs.
Yeah.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, group chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
All right, Cathys, we are back with another episode of Group Chat. It is our, it's been a very serious week, a lot of tension everywhere in the country, of the world, in fact. And I think a lot of people, are on the edge of their seat every single hour of the day, kind of doom scrolling on social media and different kind of news sites. So I wanted to start with something a little light.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch the Monday Night Football game, the Chargers and Cowboys. And funny story why I didn't watch it is Dominic, my 6-year-old, is obsessed with football now. And if I had turned on the game, he wouldn't have gone to sleep.
Okay.
Because he doesn't want to watch till the end. So obviously that means self-punishment for myself.
Yeah, because you're talking like an 8:30, 8:45 finish.
Yeah, he'll want to stay till like fourth quarter, whatever. And usually by 8 he'll check out. But he gets too intense about it, especially if whoever he's rooting for starts losing.
Well, he knows everyone's number.
Yeah, he's a big numbers guy. And so I didn't want to turn it on. So I didn't watch it. Later,
has he not figured out the cadence that Monday night has a football game?
He just thinks football's on every night.
Which it kind of is.
Yeah. For the rest of the year, it's on every night, I think.
Because college, they started Tuesday
night Mac.
Yeah.
Some Wednesday night something.
Thursday, Friday,
Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I think now until like December 1st or something, football's on every day.
Yeah, right until the conference championships.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So anyways, I didn't get to watch the game. I heard it was an epic ending. And then later in the night, I got on social media and everyone is posting this woman, this Asian woman, and her reaction during the game.
Yeah.
And then her reaction at the end of the game. And it became like a meme instantly. It was unbelievable how fast it became a meme.
Well, it first started out that people didn't believe that she was a fan and that she was planted by the NFL.
Well, no, I think that happened a little bit later. At first, it was like, people were just making it a meme.
And then, it was a meme. And then they were like, wait, this is getting too much attention. Let me hate on it.
Yeah.
That's kind of the arc.
Yeah, you first love it. And then it then became like, okay, we're seeing this woman everywhere. It's getting too much interaction. Something must be wrong. I think by the morning time, everyone's like, this is bullshit. This is a plant. She's a plant in the NFL. There's no one could care about the Chargers this much. And then they start digging deep into this person. Like, this is when there's intelligence failures in like America, it's like, it's unbelievable because like basically in like 6 hours, everyone figured out everything about this woman. So
she was a phenomenon.
Yeah, phenomenon. Like, she might have been the most famous person in America on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think I would argue she probably had the most impressions of any human being in U.S. social media.
Yes. It's unbelievable. So if you want to see it, search Chargers
Because there was pictures, memes, the video, people talking shit, people defending her. Then she got on the Pat McAfee show, which is one of the biggest sports shows on ESPN, and they brought her on.
And so then it becomes, right before that, it becomes discovered that she is a season ticket holder for the Chargers. And I think she was in a suite though, right?
It looked like a suite. She's from Orange County.
And then they started digging deeper that she once wore a Vikings fan.
Yep.
So then they're like, she's definitely a plant because she wore a Vikings fan. It turned out her son loves the Minnesota Vikings. And
no, I think the son is playing Pop Warner, and she just wore a Vikings jersey because the team's called the Vikings.
Okay.
So our good friend Matt Leinart, who we spent last weekend with, started defending her because apparently he's close with the family. And he's the one that pointed out, like, that's her son's team.
Yeah.
So leave her alone.
Yeah.
And I also think, this is also like kind of what's wrong, like in a post-COVID world. Like everyone just needs to get mad about something. Why do you get mad about this woman cheering?
Yes. Because I'll tell you why. It's just excessive. Like, first of all, Chargers suck, right?
They're middle of the road.
Middle of the road. So, like, I think people find it hard to believe that anyone's this passionate about the Chargers.
Yeah.
I think if it was like the Steelers or if it was the Cowboys.
Because here's where it's funny because I don't know if you remember in the playoffs when the Golden State Warriors were on the road. I think it was Sacramento. I forget which. You remember that guy that went viral screaming this? He had the Steph Curry jersey on, and he like just went nuts, and he's all
face,
tatted
yeah.
up, and like he was crazier than her.
Yeah.
And he became a sensation.
Yep.
And then Steph Curry invited him to the next game and like got him sneakers jersey and everything. This poor woman just gets dragged.
No, but I guarantee you, like, she's so famous. She's going to be...
I mean, she should lead the team out on Sunday.
Yes. Like this...
Imagine her running with the Chargers.
Yes.
flag.
I mean, if I'm the Chargers, like, it's a marketing moment. A mega marketing moment.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're home this week is the problem. But yeah, but whenever the next home game, they need to honor her.
I agree. She should be celebrated at halftime or pregame. Do the coin toss.
Yeah. I think first the impressions will be bananas.
Yeah, because what we've realized, especially with sports content, the fake sports content actually
resonates more.
It gets more clicks. Like a fake LeBron story, a fake Lakers story, it's just something ridiculous because people just think it's funny.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. That's what we're dealing with right now in real life.
Yeah.
Fake stories of the last 24 hours have gotten more attention than real stories.
Yeah, we want the shock. And like even like Pat McAfee, the reason why he resonates, it's kind of just a circus, his show. I don't know if you've watched it.
You know what I watch is on big college football games they're on ESPN. They have a Pat McAfee version
segment
of it.
Oh, separate from
Simulcast.
Okay.
Where he and his homies are on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Commenting on the game.
Oh, they're actually commenting on the game? I didn't know that.
Yes. And it'll be like Matthew McConaughey at the Texas game. It's just like...
He makes it fun.
It's just fuckery.
I mean,
he's gambling with the guys.
He wears a tank top. You know what's funny? So he's an ex-punter.
Yeah.
That became like a broadcast superstar. And he has an $85 million deal with ESPN. So they obviously value him in the era of trimming costs.
I think we sponsored his podcast for like $1,500 5 years ago.
Right. And so he stands and he wears a tank top on his podcast and makes it fun. You know, I don't think people tune in for the analysis. They tune in for Aaron Rodgers coming on and calling Travis Kelce Mr. Pfizer.
Yeah.
That's what they want to see.
Yeah. They want entertainment. Fascinating. Love it. I think it's incredible. Like the story is just amazing for NFL and great for her.
Yeah, good for her.
All right, moving on to some news. I think one of the things I wanted to, we always talk about is education in this country. And given some of the things happening at schools, I think everyone's going to question it even more. A.C.T. scores, which is a standardized test used to get into colleges, similar to the S.A.T., currently has the lowest scores it's had in 3 decades.
Yep.
What's even interesting is that there's lower participation on the actual test. So that's why I'm even more shocked that the scores are lower, because you really don't, if you assume the people not taking the test are the poor performers.
Right. They're trying to skirt the admissions process.
Yeah, they're just like, I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to go to college. What the fuck do I care? But that's not the case. We continue to see lower test scores, and we can argue whether standardized test scores are the right way to judge people to go into colleges, but it is what we have. Mm-hmm. It is our system, and that's what it is. And I think I was shocked to see, and then when you start looking at like some of the challenges, it is a clear shift in demographics. So someone did a site called the 74, did like a whole deep dive on where are the kind of holes in the scoring system. So Black students had the lowest A.C.T. test scores in nearly every category. Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander students experienced the greatest A.C.T. test score declines in the last 5 years. Male students scored higher in math and science compared to females. Fewer students have taken the A.C.T. test in the last 5 years. So those are kind of the big 4 takeaways. So it's a big demographic shift, right? Like clearly like different demographics are scoring lower on the scores, and that's affecting why, and they're a greater part of the population today than they were 10 years ago. And so we have to figure out, like, if we're going to continue to use SAT and ACT scores to let people into colleges, do we have to like think of a new standardized test? It's a very hard thing because if you take away standardized test, it's wild, wild west. Because like getting an A at one school versus getting an A at another school could be completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's very hard to say that like student grades, like I do think there needs, the standardized test is probably the only way.
Yeah, it's not the best solution, but it is a solution.
Yeah.
Right? It's a flawed solution,
Yeah.
rather. And I think the problem is legacy admissions. Like that needs to be eliminated immediately.
Do you think what you're seeing in schools is legacy admissions?
Sadly, yes. The rich kids.
Yeah.
The kids at Harvard and Stanford and UPenn
Yeah.
are rich kids.
Yeah. All of them?
Most of them.
I'd say 50%.
Okay, so 50% are rich, 50% on like student aid.
Yeah.
You know how hard those schools are to get into.
Yeah.
They're not letting in, freebies.
Well, I think that's the argument that a lot of people are making, is that due to like big shifts in admissions policies, like there's always the people that are comparing like the nerdy Asian kid who got perfect on everything and basically got into Riverside and didn't get into any good school. And then there's some ethnic group that like got into every single school.
But that's generally on the margins. We've all been on these campuses. Like those, if you want to call them like philanthropic admits, that's not the majority.
No, that's not the majority. That's fair.
And so I do think, like if you eliminate legacy admissions and keep standardized test scores, then you have to do both, because it's not fair just because your grandparent went to Stanford that you have a leg up on. I mean, we've talked about at our school, one kid gets into one of those schools every year at high school.
Yeah.
1,000 kids graduating at Granada Hills High School every year. One kid gets into an elite school.
Yeah, so I would argue that probably maybe 10 kids are qualified.
Yeah, so those 10 kids should get in.
I wouldn't say 10, because not everyone at Harvard Westlake's getting in who's qualified. I would say they get a greater percentage. But yes, it could be greater than one.
So what's Harvard Westlake's class? Like 200 kids probably?
I have no idea. Yeah.
Let's call it
Yeah.
maybe 150. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's 30, 40 admits a year at Stanford.
No way.
You don't think so?
30, 40?
Okay, I bet you at least 20% of that class gets into equivalent. A UPenn, a Harvard, a Stanford. It's 20% of a class of 250 kids. One kid out of 1,000 gets in at Granada Hills High School.
So yeah, I mean, but we would argue, if you look apples to apples, most likely the kids at Harvard Westlake are probably more prepped to go to an Ivy League school.
I wouldn't agree. All my friends in high school had high SAT scores.
No, I'm not. But I said maybe your group of 10 friends are those kids who could have got into an Ivy League school.
I think that exists every year. Like Granada is not like a shitty public school. It's like one of the best public schools.
No, but I'm just saying, you're talking
and
about
you still
the
can't get in.
1% of 1% is these Ivy League schools, right? Like at a Stanford or at a Harvard or whatever these people, right? Like,
you'd argue now it's probably not the best place to send your kids.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to clean it up. I have faith. Once the money dries up,
the money's already drying up.
I mean, and it's a good topic, good transition. A lot of donors, if you haven't been following, that donate to Harvard, UPenn, Stanford, those are the three that are like the most predominant, mainly because their alumnus are like the people. Like I think
At UPenn, Clifford Asness, legendary hedge fund guy worth billions and billions, started AQR Capital. He told UPenn, I'm done. The Huntsman family, generational wealth.
yeah,
And they're Mormons.
yeah,
And they said, we're out.
yeah.
I think the Lauder family,
Lauder family, Estee Lauder.
they said, we're out.
What's our guy, Ken Griffin?
Oh, Ken Griffin too?
Yeah, Harvard.
For Harvard? Okay.
Some big names.
Yeah, these are like business titans.
Yeah, I haven't seen if anything's happening at Stanford.
I haven't. I've seen VC guys like threaten, but I don't think they're also new money.
Yeah,
They haven't been like the Huntsman families probably donated hundreds of millions of dollars for
and over like 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if schools react. They may say "fuck you."
Yeah, I don't know. It's very fascinating because
I mean, the board of trustees must be panicking.
yeah, especially like if you see what's going on. There's probably not. I mean, we know what the moral answer is, but the universities are in a pickle.
Yeah. Big pickle. I think the challenge, I'm trying to think of both sides. If you cave and you'll have to fire leadership at these universities
Yeah.
and say, we made a mistake, please give us back the money. That's one. The other is like, do you have other pockets of money you can get that may want to support this movement?
MBS is the biggest donor of the top 10 schools.
I mean, that would be your only hope. There's not many people that have money.
Not the money they need.
Not like what colleges, like that kind of money. Like these like older like white families, like the way they've given to colleges is bananas.
Yeah.
Like think about it like this. If you live in Southern California, everything says Annenberg on it.
Yes.
How much money did these motherfuckers get?
Yeah. Hospitals, schools, everything.
Theaters, everything.
Museums.
Every 5 seconds I turn a corner, something says Annenberg. I was like, how much money does this guy have? Who is Annenberg?
No idea.
No idea. Nobody knows who this guy is, and the whole half the city's named after him.
Yeah. No, it's
Even when I go to the beach, when we park, Annenberg Beach House.
yeah.
And it's a city building.
Did Annenberg go to USC? Because I know all the buildings at USC are Annenberg.
Everything's Annenberg.
Or you think they're just like blanket? We want to have everything.
I mean, so let me ask you a question. Do you think the Annenberg should get into USC? They deserve it, right?
Because they've donated billions?
Yes. If you donate billions, you should get
Yeah,
it.
that bar just needs to be higher for legacy admissions.
But you're okay. It's important for the ecosystem.
Well-
Walter Hubert Annenberg, he operated and owned Triangle Publications, which included ownership of the Philadelphia Inquirer, TV Guide, the Daily Racing Form, 17 magazine. This guy made that much money off that shit.
Yeah, that's...
He went to Wharton, Penn.
Wow.
He didn't go to USC. Oh, he did. No. Look at this. He established the Annenberg Foundation in 1988, personally gave over $2 billion to educational establishments and art galleries, including both the Annenberg School for Communication at UPenn and USC.
The family started making money in like the 30s. So they've been compounding.
Yeah, I mean, $2 billion in 1988.
Is the equivalent of like 15 today.
Yeah.
And then that 2 billion probably is now 15, or no, it's probably like 20, 30 billion.
Unbelievable. But yeah, a lot of Annenbergs.
There are a lot of Annenbergs. And, the more you meet people, there's so many people with so much money that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
That's what's shocking. I'm sure you experienced it in your fundraise.
Oh, yeah. So
Random family offices.
No, I'll tell you even the funniest. I can't say the fun, but we were having a conversation with a few funds, and one fund said that 80 billion under management, and I laughed. I was like, $80 billion? That's so much money. 2 days ago, I was with a fund, and they said we have 1 trillion under management.
Was it an American fund?
American. And I literally cackled so loud. And she's like, what are you laughing at? I'm just like, that's not even 1 trillion. It's not even real.
Yeah, like BlackRock's 10 trillion. So they're 10% of BlackRock, and we've never heard of this person?
I had never heard of these people. They had $1 trillion.
It's $1 trillion.
Oh my God. All right, let's move on. So Marc Andreesen, everyone was talking about this. I started reading it and I just kind of stopped. It's too long for me.
5,200 words.
I don't know. Is that a lot of words?
A lot of words.
Okay. Techo-Optimist Manifesto.
Yeah.
What's he talking about there?
So it's taken like the tech world by storm, because he obviously gives strong opinions. So what he's basically saying is growth is the only way to improve humanity continuously. Technology has done it the last couple hundred years since beginning of civilization.
Yeah.
If you think about every human advancement, there was some technology that advanced
The
humankind.
wheel, the this, the that.
Yeah, train, plane, medicine. So he basically said growth at all costs, tech at all costs, anti-regulation, meritocracy at all costs. And he just gives these blanket statements. And this is where I don't want to say controversy, but the differing of opinions. So it's been interpreted two ways. Like, tech is great. Let's let tech win. And humankind will benefit. The other way it's being looked at is growth at all costs, tech at all costs. Like, you do need some sort of guardrails in order to make sure it doesn't go, should there be suffering along the way? And my friend brought up a point like Neuralink, okay? Neuralink might be the greatest thing to happen to the human brain. We don't know, right? Let's just make that assumption. Is it okay if Neuralink fucks up some people's brains along the way to get to the end point?
I think humanity would say yes.
Humanity might say yes. But the point is, the counter to what he's saying is everyone's like, look, there was no nuance on it. Obviously, these are obvious statements. Tech works, growth works, anti-regulation. It's actually funny. The anti-regulation part, because he goes on a rant about anti-regulation, he also endorsed the NIMBY in his neighborhood of Atherton.
Yeah.
Don't build. Yeah. So there was another meme, what are you talking about? When it comes to you, it's no regulation. But when it comes to everyone else, we all have to deal with it. So,
that's how we operate. Come on. Everyone operates like that.
So, I think people are you could get it and really excited and say oh, there was no nuance. If you talk to them in person, maybe there's nuance. And then there's a whole nother movement called effective accelerationism. Have you heard of this?
No.
So, Andy Chow, who listens to the pod, actually sent it to me. I refer to him as Chairman Chow. He'll like that. And he's like, have you seen this before? And I was like, no, I actually don't even know what it is. And he sent me this 6-minute YouTube clip. And apparently Marc Andreessen's already changed his bio to E.ACC. And the basic premise of this, and so did Gary Tan and all these guys. And the basic premise is we need to prioritize AI advancement, and all the regulation that's being talked about is going to limit innovation and create regulatory capture, meaning the incumbents will be the only ones to afford. So Sam Altman's big on regulation.
Yeah, because he wants to win.
He's going to win because he's got Microsoft's backing and he's got God knows how many billions of dollars. And it's sort of like what happened after the...
Is Andreessen not in OpenAI?
Andreessen is not in OpenAI as far as I know. Maybe he is personally, I don't know. But A.C.T isn't.
Yeah.
So it's an
interesting reason why.
Interesting. Everyone, you see someone's incentive, you could figure out where their opinion is.
Yeah.
And so the argument is basically after the financial crisis, 2008, Sarbanes-Oxley, all these government regulations, all we did was make 5 banks the biggest banks in the world.
Yeah.
And because they're the only ones that can afford to pay the litigation and to afford to
and
be
even
regulated.
have the balances required to operate.
Right. So everyone's fearing big tech just becomes not $2 trillion companies, become $15 trillion companies, and it's impossible for innovation to happen because those as innovative as big tech is, they still move slow.
Oh yeah, they're not.
Like OpenAI wasn't under Microsoft. They had
Yeah.
to go and just pay a fortune
Yeah.
to have OpenAI as part of Microsoft. So the anti-regulation people are let's not let the four incumbents capture all the profits, and it's going to stifle innovation because you're not going to have the young startup that figures out something. And so that's basically the concept. And you're right. Who's invested in OpenAI and who isn't is probably where you stand.
Yeah, because look, OpenAI, we've said it, probably $1 trillion company when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
It's going to end up being something like that.
They're
You think-
trading a 100x right now.
Yeah. So like, I'm talking trillion from market cap.
Yeah. So
If
it's
they
only
do
a
10
10x
billion in
amount.
revenue next year, it's $1 trillion.
Yeah.
They'll raise money. They'll go public at $1 trillion. So I think like they're in a bind now because I actually agree with Marc Andreesen, and I have no like fucking horse in the race here. Like I'm not AI. I'm not doing anything there.
Yeah.
My thing is I do think we are so overly protective of these large companies, and we aren't. And really, this is like the purpose of venture, which I think a lot of people not in technology can't understand. If venture did not unlimited back some of these companies, we wouldn't have gotten to the world we're at, right? Like, we can argue if Uber is a good business or bad business. We would say net positive, Uber has made
It
it.
expanded cities.
I mean, I would say forget just expanded cities. I think like it changed transportation, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's my point, because I think pre-Uber, you were limited by like, oh, do I really want to call a taxi? There's too much friction. And you can go experience, if you live in mid-city, Santa Monica, Venice, Silver Lake, and you actually it's better for the human experience.
I was just talking about drinking and driving.
Yeah, I don't know the statistics, but I'd imagine they're lower.
Yeah.
But in general, it was a net positive experience for anyone in any city.
Yeah. I think if it wasn't for venture, like Uber's such an important
Yeah,
part.
there's $20 billion to get to this.
Yeah. And I would argue Airbnb's had that impact.
And everyone made money along the way.
Yeah. And I think if Postmates hadn't started, can you imagine COVID without delivery?
Right.
Like what? Everyone's just running Domino's all day?
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it's a good point. I don't know.
Yeah. So like I have a deeper appreciation.
Drive-through would be hot.
Yeah. The lines at drive-through, Jesus Christ. But I do believe that there's this like enormous impact that venture has on pushing this innovation. And historically, the returns have clearly been good enough. They may not have been great, good enough where large LPs, these are the people that invest in funds, continue to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because like if CalPERS, which is the teachers fund, which is like I think the biggest fund, public pension fund in America, decided to stop investing in venture, they would only do it if they don't think they can make money. They're not doing it for favors.
No, of course not. And I think I would guess the calculus for these types of like sovereign funds and pension funds is basically like, look, venture as a whole doesn't outperform the S&P, but there's a handful of people that crush the S&P, and you just hope you're in one of those.
Yeah. I think like it's really, really important that I think what Marc Andreesen is saying is right. I agree with them 100%.
What he says in broad strokes is right, and I don't think he should be being attacked, but everyone wants everything to be the perfect final product.
Yeah, it's not possible.
But he should let the apartment building be built in Atherton.
I'm okay with that not being built.
Why?
You got
How can you be anti-regulation, but you're one of the bigger voices in like intellectual thought?
He doesn't want poor people in his neighborhood.
There you go. Regulation. Regulate poor people.
You can pay. If you're willing to pay for anti-regulation, I'm okay with it.
I mean, that's what happens in Congress every day.
If you can't convince,
But that's why we criticize the pharmaceutical companies. They pay for regulation.
I agree. My argument's always
You
been,
can't say it's okay. We don't. It's still wrong.
It's wrong.
That's how it works.
So,
But you can't be the proponent of anti-regulation when when it affects you directly. You want regulation.
my point is we know how the game is played.
I know
in
how the
Congress.
game is played.
So then go raise more money. Venture should have a fucking lobbyist arm. Andreessen, you want to fucking affect change? Go spend $500 million a year. Go build a lobbyist arm in DC that's anti-regulation of AI. You're not going to win the battle by just investing and tweeting.
Yeah, they're just trying to get public perception. But the problem is,
Public perception has no impact on Congress.
yeah,
They just doesn't. I'm sorry. They make dumbass laws all the time that the public doesn't agree with.
yeah, because the challenge the U.S. is going to have on a go forward basis is that China has zero regulation of how the government wants to pursue things. So if, my friend brought up an example. He's like gene editing, for example. In China, they're just going to fuck with humans and try to build a superhuman. Like make sure, and there's going to be people that die. There's people with massive disabilities because of it. But then they may get to the end point of this superhuman that it's going to be, they can just manufacture smart people all the time.
Man, that'd be scary. Too many superhumans.
And the
We're
U.S.
not going to win that.
Is that
Dream
that's
team
not
anymore.
a net positive for humanity that we just killed a bunch of people and fucked with a bunch of people's lives? And then the U.S. there's going to be regulation. There is regulation on gene editing. The way human trials work is very different than the way it work in China.
Yeah.
And they're not playing by those rules.
Yeah. I don't think the
You need
average.
Zohan to be right.
I don't think the average person in America understands the rules that are being played. Like, I don't even think people know TikTok is a Chinese company. I don't think they know Shein's a Chinese company.
Probably
They
not.
do
Only
not.
if you listen to this podcast.
Okay. So a very small percentage of the
It's the
population.
number one podcast in the world. What are you talking about?
Even the number one podcast, in the world. Like take even Joe Rogan. How many people actually listen to it? 10 million?
I think I've heard him bleep out 15 to 20 an episode.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
There's 400 million people in America.
And he's global, so how many of that isn't actually in the U.S.?
Yeah, half.
Probably a little more. I would say 70%, if I had to guess.
So 10
It's
million
very
people.
American content. Hunting, guns.
People love American content. Baywatch was the number one show in the world. No one watched that show here.
Yeah, the rules of the game are different, and that's China's edge because in terms of innovation, that's their edge. Look, I mean, they're showing it. Shein's wiping out retailers here.
Yeah.
TikTok has wiped out, a lot of the advantages Facebook and Instagram had because they get to do whatever they want.
Yeah, and there's
And it's those you could. I think TikTok's high stakes because they can change American sentiment, but it gets really high stakes when you talk about gene editing, AI, creating robots, and all this shit. They're going to do whatever the hell they want,
yeah, of course, and they'll fund it too. That's a difference.
and they won't care if people suffer along the way.
No, because you can spin it as a net positive for their people,
Mm-hmm.
and that narrative is very tough to sell in America now. It used to be cool. It's like a few people have to be sacrificed for the greater good. That is not happening anymore.
Yeah, that's like the human trials for drugs is a big issue here,
Yeah.
right? But if you're volunteering, is it okay? A lot of moral cases you can make.
Well, that's the problem is that we get caught up. It's the same thing in like environmental laws of building in California. We get caught up so much in environmental laws that we don't actually accomplish anything.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like think on the subway. It's been 40 fucking years. 40 years.
You're talking about from downtown to Santa Monica?
Yes.
Yeah.
When our dad came to LA, he had a poster in our house from stadium to the sea or something like that.
Yeah.
And 40 years later, it is not done. 40 years. China was nothing 40 years ago. Now they're a superpower in 40 years. We can't build a subway in one fucking city. They've been digging in Wilshire since I was born.
Yeah, there's sacrifices to that growth. That's, I think, the broader point, and there's more humanity in thinking that about the sacrifices we make along the way for growth.
Yeah, and I think
Because think about it, buildings collapse in China because they're not on code.
Yeah.
Bridges collapse.
Look, there's a happy medium. I'm sorry. Ours is not being
I think
lagged because
California-
of slow construction. Ours is being lagged because of like years of environmental study to if you should put this fucking bridge up.
And people petitioning saying, I don't want this in my backyard.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. I also think unions matter.
Yeah.
Like you can only work 8 hours a day. In China, you're working 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Fucked.
Tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for America, definitely.
It's tough for innovation in America. I think that's why you have all these people in technology talking about it, because they see the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
Because there's all these revolutionary things happening.
The one thing that they have going for them on the technology side, like how big is Andreessen's fund?
Their latest one's probably $4 billion. I don't know.
Okay, so they can give companies billions of dollars so that they can operate independent and potentially take down an incumbent. Think about OpenAI. OpenAI raised billions of dollars.
But they raised it from Microsoft, which is $1 trillion company.
I know, but
a $4 billion fund.
But they had $1 billion before Microsoft.
They raised it $1 billion before Microsoft. Then they raised it 10 with Microsoft.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. $100 million was $1 billion.
Yeah, but OpenAI will more than likely remain an independent company. It's not going to be under Microsoft. I think that ship has sailed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So we now created a new mega cap company. Because isn't it like once Microsoft recoups all their money from the investment, they own nothing?
No, they still own like 49% of the company. They just get their money back first.
Okay.
Through like contracts and stuff.
Their ownership stays the same.
Yeah.
Interesting to see, but at least it will be an independent mega cap on its own.
Yeah.
I think the big thing is like other companies should be thinking about this. There's other large companies that have money.
Yeah, I'm sure all the big tech companies were like, damn, we were asleep at the wheel on this one.
Yeah. So I can't get mad at Microsoft.
No, you can't get mad at them at all. It's just creating regulation will just make them the only winner. It'll be winner take all.
Yeah. All right. Here's an interesting thing. Household net worth surged after the pandemic hit. When we were talking, a lot of people started listening to this podcast in like March, April of 2020. That was like a big surge in our listenership. I think people were just looking for, something to kind of connect with. And we were talking such doom and gloom during those times.
Yeah.
Like nothing is open. How does this even work? And 6 months later, we realized that two things. One, the stimulus that the country was been given, it was all that mattered. And then later, we found out, I would say more like a year after that, we realized, 0% interest rates is good.
And they backstop U.S. corporate debt.
Yeah.
So no company can go bankrupt. They backstop all the bond buying, all this stuff, like the plumbing of the financial system. The U.S. government said everything's fine.
Yeah. So
we're keeping you at home, but we're going to make you rich.
Yeah, and I think if we had a deeper understanding of that, we could have made a lot more money.
Yeah, I think people did.
I think
Bill Ackman did.
Yeah, I think smart people, we're dummies.
Yeah, we're dummies.
We don't know what was going on.
Yeah, so the numbers are staggering. The household's median net worth climbed 37% between 2019 and 2022.
That's obscene.
And it's a combination of rising home prices, rising stock market, which has outpaced inflation, which is why everyone's still out spending. So if anyone asks, like, is the economy soft? This is why the economy's not soft. If the average household has 37% more income in 3 years,
some of it got taken away.
Some, but it's above inflation.
Yeah.
No matter how you cut it. So interesting, Black families saw the largest gains in median net worth, with their wealth rising 60% from 2019 to 2022.
And is that all stock market or housing?
They don't break it down. I mean, their baseline income is lower as a group, but
yeah,
that's still a big number. This is also why you can't, if your net worth as a family or a household increase that much. That's why there's a labor shortage on like hourly jobs.
Yeah.
You don't need to do it.
Very interesting.
So I don't think spending's slowing. September was blockbuster retail.
Yeah.
Blew through everything.
I mean, I is gas prices in that? Like gas consumption?
In retail?
Yeah.
You're saying because the gas is so high? Don't know. But that's also why the 2-year treasury hit to like 5.25%. You know, every hour this today, if you looked on Twitter, it would, like Unusual Whales would be like, oh, it's the largest yield since 2009. Then like 2 hours later, largest yield 2007. By the end of the day, it was largest since 2000.
So the 2000s when we had the .com bust, where everything changed.
Everything is predating a crash.
And by the way, the market took a dump today.
Yeah.
And I was watching like this financial advisor on CNBC, like a big global wealth manager. He's like, yeah, there's not much we could do. 5.5%, but no risk is kind of a good deal.
Yeah. I think.
Why would you go and try to outperform the market when you can get 5.5%?
Yeah, and if you even want to get like U.S. corporate debt, they probably have to issue at 12% today.
Yeah.
These are companies that aren't going bankrupt.
Yeah.
There's like no credit default risk.
Yeah. So you can go get Apple debt.
Maybe not Apple. Apple's probably just above Treasury.
Yeah.
But I bet Netflix debt is in the teens.
Yeah.
If they were to issue now. I don't know if they're issuing, but.
That would be hot. So Tesla just came out with their earnings. They missed on earnings, missed on revenue, and missed on operating margin.
What's the stock doing?
Up.
What's the rationale?
If I were to look at it from why I think the rationale is, one, they are squeezing the shit out of all the other auto manufacturers. They have dropped prices. I actually looked this week. You can get a Model Y for like $400 or $500 a month now.
Man, they missed on free cash flow from $2.59 billion expected to $848 million.
Yeah.
That's a big miss.
Yeah.
Is it all because of the Cybertruck?
No, it's all because of discounting.
No. Why the stock's up? Because they announced the delivery date. It's November 20th.
Oh, then that's it. Once you see one truck, everyone's getting that fucking car. I'm dying to see how big it is because I want that car too.
I think it's just the Cybertruck is on track. So they're just going to crush it next quarter.
Yeah.
Because all stock is the price of future earnings.
Yeah.
That's interesting. They knew they bombed. They had to come up with something.
They're like, we gotta deliver this goddamn truck.
Yeah, so Elon might be sleeping on the floor.
Oh, right now?
Yeah.
He's like, he has some good memes though on Twitter. Okay, so that's big. November 20th, it's gonna deliver?
That's what they said.
Wow. Man, can you imagine the intensity of I bet you like half the company didn't know. And he's just like, I'm not gonna let this stock price drop.
He knows. Yeah, he knows the game.
Wow. That truck is going to be the biggest thing. That's going to save retail for December. You know how many people are going to buy that car?
So Netflix, interesting. They crushed earnings. They beat on earnings, beat on revenue. Second highest quarter of cash flow ever. And stock's up.
They're back.
And they increased the price for its premium service by 15% to $22.99. These are getting expensive.
$22.99? I thought Netflix was $14.99.
I think it used to be, and they've continued to. But yeah, Netflix. This is why the consumer is strong. They almost doubled their net worth in 3 years.
Not almost double. 37% is not double.
Okay.
That's not double.
I know it's not double.
It's
It's closer to double than it is to half.
No, it's not. That's lies.
13% away.
That's lies. All right, moving on. So X, speaking of Twitter, is testing a $1 annual fee in New Zealand and Philippines to fight spam. So for $1, you have the ability now to
Get off read only.
Okay.
So you can, with the $1 a year,
if you don't pay the $1, what do you get?
read only.
You can't respond to anyone.
You can consume, you can't retweet, and you can't tweet.
I like that.
I like it too.
I think it's great. Bots are such a problem.
Yeah, because if you see anyone post anything of obviously the turmoil right now that's going on, we have no idea if those responses are just farms in China, Russia,
Just to create chaos.
create chaos. And so they're testing it in New Zealand and Philippines, and ultimately it'll come here.
And by the way, most people...
And you have to register with a phone number.
Hot. That's key.
Because then if you incite hate speech, there's consequence.
We got your number.
Yeah. I think right now what we're seeing is we need way more accountability on everything.
Oh, yeah. Wild. Okay, I love it. I was kind of laughing at it when I saw the headline, but now this makes logistically
Because that
more
was
sense.
his biggest sticking point when he became an activist shareholder in Twitter, was that we have no idea what the bots are.
Yeah.
Like how many are real users, how many are fake users. That's obviously big just when you think about your business, but the other part is they can just create chaos.
Yeah. And I think the good thing about this is most people are lurkers on social media.
Yeah.
They're not participants.
Mhm.
Most people just
Probably
want
90%.
they just want to consume and not engage. So I think for 90% of the people, this is great.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Just
if you
lurk.
don't got $1, you should shut the fuck up.
You know, the critics were like, not everyone has $1. It's blocking out people.
Who does not have $1?
If you have a smartphone, you have $1.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but everyone has a fucking $1.
Everyone who has a smartphone has $1 to spare if they want to be involved in the conversation.
Yeah. Fuck off. Look, that's woke.
That's woke. That's bad.
That's-
I mean, you could go to CVS, steal 2 deodorants, and flip it. You have your $1.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't have $1 and you steal something, I'll buy it. So that you can go participate in Twitter. Find me on the street, I'll buy something stolen from you. So you can go.
Yeah, but you have to steal first.
Fine. You can be a thief. I don't care. It's your problem. You're not going to jail. All right. Last piece of news before we hit winners, losers content. Really interesting. Florida has officially become the second most valuable residential real estate market in the U.S., surpassing New York. California is by far, I think it's like $1 trillion or something like that.
So Florida is a real estate market of the state is up 90% since 2020.
Yep.
Now valued at 3.8 trillion. New York is up 24% at 3.7 trillion. And still rising. Florida is up 5%. California is number 1. And what's interesting, just to like joke about how Florida was perceived pre-pandemic, how many episodes did we do talking about Florida man? How Florida is just a chaotic, like nonsensical state.
Yeah. Tons.
And now they are bigger than New York in real estate value.
I think the exodus that stuck is that a lot of people moved to Florida and they're staying. They like it.
Yeah, I think if I had to guess, it's mostly like Northeast people.
Yeah.
That they were like, why are we dealing with snow 4 months of the year and bad weather?
And the cost of living in New York is ridiculous.
And yeah, you go from an apartment to like a 5-bedroom house.
Yeah.
I know there's tech people in San Francisco that moved to Miami. I don't know anyone that's permanently moved to Miami from my network in Los Angeles. Do you? Permanently? I guess, did Kevin?
Yeah. Kevin, who listens to the pod, he lives there permanently.
Okay. So it's few and far between.
Yeah, but if everyone has 1 or 2 people in their network and there's 400 million people, it's not, everyone knows one person. This is my point.
Yeah.
Right? Like if everyone knows one person, then...
But I think in New York, it's like multiples of people.
Yeah, I think New York, there was a combination of like cost of living is too expensive. There's weather issues. I think I've spoken to a lot of people, older people, were not down with the policies of the city, the way they were operating during COVID. And so they were like, I'd rather go somewhere where...
But I also think what people realized, especially in New York City, because I have close friends there that still live there, and They pay an arm and a leg to live in their city apartment. Everything's expensive. School's insane. Preschool, nanny, everything's...
quality of life is low.
And yeah, the quality of life. And he has this conversation with me. He goes, we're married with 2 kids. It's not like we're out at dinners every night. We're not going out. We're not going to the Broadway plays. It's so stupid we live here.
Yeah.
And I think people realized that in the pandemic when everyone kind of, especially New York, you had to leave.
Yeah.
I mean, at least temporarily.
Yeah.
I know rich people got to go to the Hamptons,
Yeah.
but other rich people could go to Florida.
Yeah.
And they were like, this is stupid. I can live in a house with a pool, a community security, and I don't have to bundle up my 3-year-old to go to school.
Yeah.
Because the weather's nice.
Yeah. I agree. I think a lot of people came to that conclusion. And like, it's clear. I mean, like, shit's happening now. Like, from a business standpoint, it was not happening prior to COVID, but like, there are real people there. There are real businesses there.
Where's
Ken
Florida
Griffin.
Man?
What?
Where's Florida Man?
He's there. He's like in Tampa Bay, Jacksonville. That's where Florida Man is. Orlando, maybe.
Florida Man's lurking.
Yeah.
What's going to happen when the hedge fund billionaire runs into Florida Man?
The security guy will remove him. Let me shoot him. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's open carry state, right?
Exactly. All right. Let's move on to winners, losers content. Who is your winner of the week?
My winner is Bitcoin. So this week, he's been my winner multiple years on different various topics. But Bitcoin this week, Larry Fink, who runs BlackRock, $10 trillion asset class, was on CNBC saying, look, there's turmoil in the Middle East. There's Russia, Ukraine going on. We don't know what's happening with China, Taiwan. People want a flight to quality. And named 3 assets.
Okay.
U.S. Treasuries, gold, and Bitcoin.
Wow.
So in the eyes of the largest asset manager in the world,
Yeah.
he believes Bitcoin is on that same playing field.
I agree. I'm with him.
And when ETFs come, this is not investment advice, but you can understand where Bitcoin's going to go.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. My winner of the week, if you're a big LinkedIn user, is this is hilarious. And I like this guy just got balls. There's a guy on LinkedIn. He's a CEO of Air Asia. Posts a picture of him with his shirt off,
Yeah.
getting a massage.
So he's your winner.
My winner.
Okay. You think he has a job in a week? He might be your loser in a week.
he might run the country in a week too.
True.
You don't know.
Everything's on the table.
Very interesting. You know, we all live in like different cultures and climates. This guy has his shirt off getting a massage, posted on LinkedIn. He's CEO of an airline. I love it. It's hilarious.
It's hilarious. What do you think made him press send? Like he takes the picture because he's not like in shape. It's not like he has a 6-pack. Like who presses send on that? Saying like this is a top photo.
I mean, if I were to say objectively, it's a hot photo.
Because he's just a fat dude.
I'm fat. I'm the CEO of AirAsia. I'm getting a massage, and fuck you. I'm gonna post it.
Yeah.
Some people might be offended. Some people might like it. That's my winner. Big Tony.
Yeah.
Who's your loser?
My loser is free speech absolutists. I think when it's convenient to criticize one side of the free speech, they become really high and mighty. And those same people that were so mad about censoring during COVID and Trump have been awfully quiet this past week on, is what's going on a free speech or is this hate speech? They're not saying shit.
I'm going to take it one step further. My loser is all media.
Mm-hmm.
I think the amount of misinformation about what's happening in Israel and Gaza is insane.
Yeah,
And
the
even
last
by
24 hours.
Yeah, and even by Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Washington. And I wasn't one of those people that, oh, everything in New York Times is trash or fake or Washington Post fake. But just watching like the headlines evolve by the minute, by the hour is disgusting. Like, you don't need to fucking post it if you don't have the information correct yet. And now, specifically on this hospital bombing issue, no one even knows what happens now. Biden is saying it's not true, that it's not, the Israelis didn't do it. But it doesn't matter. Enough people think it's real now. And that's perception. Whether that's real or fake, we don't know. And like, everything is hijacked immediately.
The problem is there's no consequence, because you would assume people died because of the first post.
Yeah.
Right? They might have fired an extra rocket thinking like, oh, Israel bombed this hospital. And so people died. There's real life consequences in these headlines.
Yeah.
But there's no consequence for New York Times or MSNBC or Wall Street Journal. It was all sides, by the way. Fox. Everyone was wrong originally, and who knows if they're right now.
Yeah.
But the headlines have changed dramatically.
Yeah. All right. Content.
My content is for everyone to stay off social media. Go watch a rom-com, a Kevin Hart movie. I feel like social media can be pretty damaging to your mental health right now. We have to do it because of this podcast. So we'll do it for you guys and, get the news. But I think it's probably important to take a break because it's pretty toxic out there.
I would say my content is more about like, there's a lot of anger, and I think it's important to empathize with everyone why they're angry and actually have a conversation instead of just constantly telling my side this, my side that, your side did this, my side did that. Like, it is such a nuanced problem. They understand it better than we do, and we are sitting here fighting in the streets, fighting each other, and we're not even listening to what's actually happening there. And I know people are seeing atrocities and they're very angry. And I think my biggest fear is, we talked about this in the last podcast, I think the anti-Semitism kind of, movement that I see happening is very dangerous. I think the anti-Muslim rhetoric is extremely dangerous. And like, if you're in this fight and you're always just putting just anger out, you will not actually get a solution. Sometimes you just got to shut up and dribble and fucking listen to people, not have to fight at every little thing that you're fighting for. And I think it's creating so much anger right now.
Yep.
And
it's a negative feedback loop right now, because you go on social media, you get angry, whatever you believe in.
Yeah.
You get angry.
Yeah.
And then you start reacting, you start posting, then you have protests going on. Then it's just, honestly, everything's in terms of just how do you get angrier and angrier versus like how.
Yeah. And I think that,
especially when like,
if you really want to engage and you want to be a part of the conversation, my suggestion is reach out to your Jewish and Muslim friends. Reach out to them.
Yep.
See how they're feeling, see how they're doing, see what they're saying, see what they're thinking. That is more impactful than you posting something on social media that you don't know anything about.
I agree.
They're dealing with something very different than what, us that are outsiders are dealing with. All right. Shout outs. First shout out is from Jacob to Matt. Happy 1-year anniversary to Matt at MJ Wolfen. Oh, I know Matt. You're a natural winner, an elite husband, friend, and colleague. Excited for your epic honeymoon coming up. The pod will lose a Kathy for 2 weeks, but he'll be back ASAP guaranteed.
There's a lot of downtime in a honeymoon. He should be listening.
Yeah, by the way, is Jacob a colleague, a husband, or the friend?
Great question. Can't answer that.
It's interesting. From Nick Grimaldi to Neil Wright. Yes, the homie Neil. Shout out to the actual Neil Wright. You guys know him from Complex Con, amongst other areas in the industry for over years. We know him as one of the best friends anyone could have. He's marrying his beautiful bride, Rebecca, on Saturday, and we all couldn't be more proud of him, of what he's done in his business and personal life. Thank you for being one of the most loyal guys on the earth and life of every party. We love you. Biggie and the rest of the Wild Boys. Congratulations, Neil. Big wedding this weekend.
We know them. Congrats.
That's
Have
exciting.
Fun, enjoy. Get drunk.
Neil's sober.
Yeah. Don't get drunk.
Next. Hi, group chat. My husband and I are avid listeners and have been for several years. I want to show my appreciation for last week's episode with Nabil Khan, easily a top 3 all-time episode of group chat. Over the past few episodes, the context you've brought to what's going on in Israel has been thoughtful, logical, and respectful, which is so refreshing in our current climate. As a Jewish American, this is so greatly appreciated. So she wanted to give a shout out to the Israeli Defense Force for all that they're doing out there. So big shout out. So I'm glad you guys found it. That episode got a really good reaction. Nabil, if you're a Chatty Cathy Club member, Nabil is in the Discord. He sends me the most thoughtful messages about everything. It's incredible. So if you have any questions on what's going on, I highly encourage you hit him up.
Yeah, especially if you want to learn the history.
Or do it privately. You don't have to do it in the Discord. You should hit him up privately.
Yeah,
He's
I
in
agree.
there and talk to him about it. Wealth of knowledge and appreciation. That's all we got.
All right.
Anything else, Josh? That's it. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Stay off social media. Reach out to your Jewish and Muslim friends.
Peace.